you so much for joining. This is what the agenda looks like today. We'll start with the icebreaker. We've had some music at the background. We welcomed you all to today's program. Our pastor, the convener of this program, will open it. We'll have Professor Emmanuel Moore Abolo take us on the economic outlook. There'll be lots of questions. And of course, we have 3 strong panelists, 3 speakers to answer those questions. Mr. Emmanuel Akpeme will take us on tax. And we have so many other interesting things today. So thank you so much for joining. We hope it will be an impactful time today. We welcome you all. Please, please, if you know anyone that needs to be financially well, anyone that needs to be financially well, I need to be financially well. That's why I'm on this call. Please kindly ask them to join. Please ask them to join, because the words that will change 2025 for us today, it's about to come forth. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll go straight away to the opening remarks. It will be taken by our pastor, who is unavoidably absent, but we have Pastor Nokoya to help us with this. Pastor, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sister Miss. Shall we pray? Father in heaven, we thank you, we bless you, we worship you, we honor you. We thank you because your word tells us that unto you shall the gathering of your children be. We thank you because it is unto you that this gathering is. Please take all the glory in the name of Jesus. Lord, we know that because you have not called the house of Jacob to seek you in vain, our gathering today will not be in vain. We ask, O Lord God, that you minister to each and every of our speakers today and speak through them. They are already experts in their chosen field, but you are the expert amongst experts. We ask, O Lord God, that you minister to them. All we ask is that at the end of today, let, O Lord God, our situation, our circumstances be better than it is now. And, O Lord God, because the scripture says that our tomorrow is all right, let that indeed be our story. Thank you, Ancient of Days. In Jesus' name we pray. Praise the Lord. I am indeed a placeholder at this time. We firmly believe that at some point, the winner of this program will be able to join us. That in the prison.
I've joined.
Excellent, sir. So, John the Baptist yields ground. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doctor. And my apologies for joining late. As some of you may know, you know why. So, thank you, Dr. Nokoya. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to the organizers of this conference. I'd like to thank the speakers. I can see some of them already on the call. I do not want to speak about the names so I don't make any mistake. First of all, the rationale behind this. I used to tell, I was in a financial institution the other day to talk about some investments and transactions, and I was talking to the young folks who were assigned to talk to me. And I said to them, if I know now, if I knew maybe 20, 30 years ago or more what I know now, I perhaps would be would have done much more financially. And the young lady said to me, sir, we keep hearing you people saying this. So, you know what? We are here now at this stage, and I'm wondering what we should know that we don't know. So I went on to tell her a few things, and that prompted a lot of thoughts that there are still a lot of things that people need to know. And then there was a seminar I attended, and I felt that we should begin to educate, not educate, remind church folks about the things they ought to know. There's a place to pray. There's a place to also act. And I'd like to leave us with three things, those who are on the call, and I'm hoping that more will join. One of the things that I've learned over the years is people need to learn the language of money. For example, number one, they need to learn how to earn money, earn it, and earning can be not just salary or whatever, what are the other income streams. They need to understand what's going on in the economy and how it affects their earnings and how it affects the things that happen. Number two is they need to learn how to store the money that they earn. Storage in terms of how do they steward that money so that it not only meets their needs, but helps them to then think of the future. And then the third is they need to make that money reproduce. So they store the money to be able to invest and reproduce, and the money earns more money, baby money. And so we then have a well-articulated financial life. There is more beyond faith. There is more beyond trusting God. I'll close with this. Many times I ask people, if God should ask you now that I'll give you X million, if you can tell me what you will do with it. Unfortunately, many times people don't have an idea of what they will do except to spend it, which is why when people win the lottery, you find that research has shown that many of them go back to their poverty state a couple of years later. So those are the rationale behind this, and I'm hoping that we'll do more, and we look forward to hearing from the speakers. Thank you very much, and thank you again for coming, and thank you to to those who have worked behind the scene. God bless you all.
Amen. Thank you so much, sir. I will say we just had a double dose. We had two people speak to us opening this session. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It really resonated. If I knew what I know now, perhaps I would have done much more with my finances. And I know that's why we're here today. We intend to know much more, and we will be doing more, better as we go on. So this takes me to introducing our first and keynote speaker, Professor Emmanuel Moore Abolo. Is going to be taking us on economic outlook. When I looked at Professor's profile, I'm like, what? We have people like this? Professor, this is to you. So Professor is an adjunct professor in practice, is known globally as the risk master. He has held various positions. He was the Chief Risk and Compliance Officer at the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. So many other things he has done. He's an international external trainer. He does a lot of things. One thing that resonated when I saw his profile was having done over 2,000 papers, presented over 2,000 papers. Professor, there's so much more to say about you, but because of time, I will say, welcome, you have the floor. Please, maybe just give us 2,551 today. Welcome, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Miss San. And also, I want to thank the organizers of this program, and especially Komolafe Onome, who facilitated my invitation to this, this special occasion. Myself and Onome, we were in Access Bank together, and I want to thank her very specially for this kind invitation. At the James Hope University, I teach the what you call business economics. Business economics. So it's very apt. It's very important that when you're talking about financial wellness, it's about looking at your revenue and your cost. You may be making all the money, but if you are not managing your costs very well, you might just be ending up, flat. So it's good to understand the workings of the economy. And this economy we are talking about is very, very dynamic. It's not a static situation. It's a moving thing. It moves, it's very, very continuous. So anyone who wants to be financially well must be constantly be monitoring the environment, because it's not static. It's not static. It's a moving thing. It's a moving thing. So let's try to interrogate this economy, the Nigerian economy, and of course, try to have a prognosis of what will happen in 2025. So just permit me now to share my slides with you. Someone else is sharing. Okay, send request. All right, thank you very much. All right, okay, thank you very much once again. We're trying to look at the Nigerian economy, and to contextualize that, we're also going to be looking at the global economy, because the whole world has come together as a hamlet. And so if anybody wants to understand developments and workings of an economy, you cannot isolate yourself from what is happening at the global level. So financial awareness also means, therefore, that you must understand what is happening in the global, ecosystem. It's very important. You're not going to, fix yourself only on what is happening within the Nigerian economy. You need to have a broad mind to see what is happening around you, both domestically and internationally. So the good way to start is to try to interrogate this global system. Then we move forward to the Nigerian economy. And because we have a very short period of time, we're not going to be speaking in detail. The materials will be made available to everyone. Now, what the macro economy itself, we look at indicators. The economy is very huge. So what, as someone who wants to be financially well, you'll be looking at indicators, just like you look at indicators on your dashboard. You must be looking at those indicators. So what are they? What stories are these things? What are they indicating? You must be able to interpret and understand those macroeconomic indicators, whether locally or internationally. So for someone who wants to be financially well, there is no two way about it. It's not a matter of choice. It's not a matter of option. It's a must for us to understand the workings of the economy at any point in time. And if possible, be able to have an understanding of what is going to happen in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks, and go into the realm of forecasting and so on. So it's important that we look at this. So these indicators and understanding the developments in the economy play a very crucial role in making financial decisions, because these indicators provide insights into the overall health and direction of an economy. And they also help individuals, businesses, even government officials to assess the economic conditions of a country, the economic conditions of the world, and also a type of a future trend. What is likely to be what's going to happen in the next 1 month in Nigeria? What's going to happen in the next 2 months in Africa, globally as well? So if you want to make informed decisions, in order for you to be financially well, we cannot escape from understanding the workings and the developments of the global system and also the local system. Now, it's one thing to know, it's another thing to have the ability to analyze. It's one thing to know, it's another thing to analyze. So when you have all of these data, these indicators, that's why we are now in a world of data science. It's one thing to have data, it's another thing to be able to interrogate, okay, make sense of the data, the economic data that you have. So if you say GDP, for instance, what does that tell you, for instance? So by analyzing these indicators, we as individuals, businesses, and policy makers we can anticipate and these trends and manage risks, optimize outcomes in a dynamic, dynamic sense of the word. But it's important to consider multiple indicators. So if we want to be financially well, it's not just to have a fixation, just looking at a single indicator. No, we have to be able to look at all of the indicators together and also look at how they correlate among themselves and be able to have an idea of what this presents in terms of, in terms of opportunities. Again, so we are saying that understanding these, economic developments, it will help us to make informed investment decisions. You cannot go into making decisions if you do not understand what is happening in the macro environment. You cannot. Then, of course, understanding these indicators and also, developments, it helps us in budgeting and savings decisions, in debt management, in career planning, risk management, policy impact, consumer confidence, global perspective, as well as long-term planning and the issue of adaptability. Let's be very clear. The environment is in a state of flux. In fact, we now say we live in a world of what is called VUCA, VUCA environment. That means this environment that we are talking about is not stagnant. It keeps changing. It can change in the next 1 hour, can change in the next 1 week, and therefore we must be up to date. We must be on top of the game to be able to understand and characterize the dynamics of this environment, both domestic and international. Very important. So let's look at the global context. It's an uneven path ahead for the global system. Uneven. I'm sure we've been monitoring events in recent time. We watched the engagement between Donald Trump and Zelensky yesterday and all of that. But let's be very clear. US is expected to experience a slowdown in 2025. 2025, Donald Trump and his team, they need to settle down. So we do not expect too much as labor market will soften and consumer spending attempts to settle down. In Europe, the economic recovery remains constrained. In East Asia, the economy is projected to sustain relatively strong growth in East Asia. This one is supported by robust private consumption and stable performance in China. In South Asia is poised to remain the fastest growing region. So if you are thinking of investment and financial awareness, you can also be looking at, you should be looking at South Asia. In Africa, modest improvements are expected, and the overall global trading system, is forecast to expand by about 3.2% in 2025. We are going to go into more details, taking into consideration the time constraint that we have. So, inflation generally globally will ease. It will decline to about 3.4% based on the several forecasts that I have interrogated, both the IMF, the World Bank, and other forecasters globally. So this is just a summary, a summary of the global system. Now, if you look at the GDP for 2025 or 2024, 2025, if you look at this picture very well, you will see for the world, for India, China, and Russia, of course, and US, you can see that GDP, in terms of change, you can see the arrows, they are looking down. But for Great Britain, France, Japan, and Denmark, you find that, the arrows are looking up, but in a very marginal sense of the word. So that's just the picture of the global economy in 2025. Now, if you further break this down, we're talking about real GDP, annual percentage change. This also shows very clearly that, we shouldn't be expecting too much, in terms of real GDP growth in 2025. Things will rather remain a little bit flat. So this one is the situation for, growth of economic output in the world, developed and developing countries. The developing countries in terms of growth, appear to be higher than what is going to be happening the world over, and then of course developed countries. You can see that the developing countries, of which Nigeria is one, you can see the real GDP growth, is going to be hazarding between 4.2% and 4.3%, growth. So what is a likely picture? Let's just summarize the likely picture of the global economy. well, technological advancements in terms of artificial intelligence and the 5G and connectivity, as well as pursuit of green technology. Those are areas we should be watching. There is going to be increasing development in the area of artificial intelligence and 5G, as well as connectivity. In terms of trade, many countries are going to be pursuing, diversification and, of course, regionalization. Of course, we also need to add that, far-rightism appears to be blowing across the globe, where people are now beginning to talk about nationalism. You see what is happening in America, trying to say, make America great again. So that is influencing what is going to happen. So everybody is moving towards the right. Demographic changes, aging populations in developed countries, and then, of course, the youth demographics is looking quite good in Africa. But what we do with the youthful demographics remain, a subject to be properly, interrogated. Climate change and sustainability, that's something that is going to be intensified. You now see that ESG, environmental and social governance issues, has come to the front burner. And so in 2025, especially in the banking industry and across other sectors, ESG, frameworks and ESG, reporting is going to be intensified. Digital economy regulation is going to be, intensified, and monetary policy. Central banks will continue to navigate the challenges of inflation, interest rates. We see that in Nigeria currently. And then, of course, power shifts in the global economy. There will be the rise of emerging markets, as well as the increasing role of China. Healthcare and biotechnology, medical innovations will be on the increase, and then there will be increasing preparedness for another form of pandemic. Labor market transformations, remote work will continue to be sustained, and then financial markets and digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, and the central bank, currencies are going to be, to be speeded up across the globe. Geopolitical dynamics, we are seeing that already. Global cooperation and conflicts, a lot of far-rightism, as I mentioned before. Every part of the globe, they're now beginning to look at their specific. So multilateralism is going to slow down. Consumer behavior, well, e-commerce, growth, sustainability, and infrastructure investment is going to be pursued more aggressively, especially in infrastructure investment. We're going to be having more of a what is called smart infrastructure and global, connectivity. So, in a sense, a lot is going to happen globally, but we cannot put the totality of the global economy into one bucket. So we need to be looking at each, segment of the global system and see which areas we want to focus on. But I've said Asia is one good area that we can look at. For Nigeria, well, Nigeria economy witnessed a combination of bold reforms between 2023 and 2024. We are still trying to recover from some of these reforms. But of course, the passage of these critical reforms, both in terms of monetary policy and energy sector, it was a comfy development. However, these reforms and other factors have caused considerable shocks into the system that has fed into rapid rise in business costs, in inflationary, and also inflationary expectations, which is even worse than the inflation we are talking about, inflationary expectations. And that is why the Central Bank of Nigeria has not been able, to curb inflation, because inflation in Nigeria is not a monetary issue; it is a structural issue. It's a structural issue, and especially with inflationary expectation, that is what is worsening, inflation in Nigeria. Inflation rose from 29.9% in January to 32% in August. Unemployment and underemployment were reported at 5.3% and 10.6% respectively. There has been massive reduction in disposable income of Nigerians. GDP is now currently at, I think the last one about 3 days ago, it's now about 3.84%. 3.84%. Remember, we are just coming back from recession. The service sector continues to be the most significant contributor to GDP, with an average growth rate of 4.5% The service sector is one area we must be looking at. In terms of trade balance, it shows that there's a marked increase in 2024 compared to the preceding years of 2021, 22, 23. Now, so let's look at pictures now, so that we can have a very good understanding of what we are talking about. Real GDP growth, if you look at this diagram, you can see that in 2024, from Q1 to Q3, GDP rose to 3.46 in Q3 of 2024. But I said now, it's now about 3.84%. In terms of which sector is contributing more to GDP, you will see from the right hand that the service sector continues to contribute more to GDP. That's one area we need to look at. So GDP, if you look at this diagram, you will see, it was 3.52% Q4 of 2022. Now, real GDP growth is now 3.84%, up from 3.19% Q2 of 2024. Now, this particular diagram is where the whole macroeconomic, situation of Nigeria, sits. Every indicator you want to look at. If you take GDP growth, you see it there, and this one is reported on a 9-month basis. GDP growth rose from 2.45 to 3.20, 9 months. Headline inflation rose from 23.31% to 32.76%. Food inflation, you're going to see this, this picture that will be sent to you, so you can interrogate and look at the details of this, what is happening in the Nigerian economy. In terms of top growth sectors, you can see that finance and insurance, including mining and quarry, ICT, and utilities, they contribute more. They grew more in terms of sectoral growth in Nigeria. In terms of contribution to GDP, agriculture, manufacturing, trade, ICT, and construction, including mining and quarrying, they contributed over 50%, to GDP. So this diagram will tell you which sector you should be looking at in terms of investment decisions, and also in terms of being financially well. Permit me. Oil production has improved very considerably. Currently, it's over 1.45 million barrels per day. 1.545. That's because we're able to deal with the issue of oil theft. And for as long as we continue to deal with that issue, oil production will continue to rise, and that is going to increase the external reserves of Nigeria. We will see from this diagram here that our GDP mimics what happens in the oil sector. That simply shows that everything revolves around the oil sector in Nigeria. You will see more of the details. Now, in terms of contribution to GDP, we said that before. You can see that agriculture, industry, but the service, especially this this line here, the service sector contributes more to GDP in Nigeria. In terms of inflation, both headline inflation and food inflation, you can see that they have continued to spike. In fact, at some point in time, it was above 40% in Nigeria, essentially because of the reforms introduced by the current administration. Now, this heat map speaks a lot. If you look at this map very well, you will see the reds everywhere there. All of those reds, showing that inflation is rising with respect to those particular items that you find here. So you can, at your spare time, you look at the detail of this map, and you see where inflation is actually a very serious issue in the Nigerian economy. Monetary policy rate, you will see how the Central Bank of Nigeria in 2024 tried to muzzle inflation using increase in monetary policy rate. Of course, we understand the dynamics and the transmission mechanism, how the monetary policy rate fits into the system. The Central Bank believed that by increasing monetary policy rate, which is the anchor rate for all other rates in the system, that they could slow down liquidity in the system, and by implication reduce inflation. But that didn't work, because we are saying that inflation is not a monetary issue alone. It's a structural issue that can be debated. The debt service to FG revenue, You can see it's alarming. It's very alarming. We have borrowed too much. We have borrowed too much, and we are using virtually the revenue of government to service the debt. We are not talking of paying the debt service, just debt service alone. It's taking virtually all the revenue of government. So if we are not careful, we will continue to spiral. It will continue to go in a secular form. You continue to borrow money in order to take care of infrastructure and other activities of government. So it's it appears we are now in a debt trap. Exchange rate, we didn't get it quite right. Didn't get it quite right. Now the exchange rate is now above 1,000 naira to $1, and over 2,000 for other currencies such as the pound sterling. But even though there is a stability, but because we are import dependent country, people argue that that kind of rate is not good for business, as it were. So the naira depreciated very substantially in 2024. And so by summary, we can say that GDP, in 2024 rose to about 3.2%. Inflation was above 30%. Foreign reserves, was about $35 billion. And then, of course, recently, I think last week, it was reported that the external reserves of Nigeria has fallen further by over, I think, $700 million, which is a very serious issue. Then, of course, the total debt has increased from about 97 trillion naira in 2023 to about 135 trillion naira in 2024. Finally, we have talked about exchange rates. So let's move forward now. So what is the outlook? What are we saying about what is likely to happen in 2025? Let's be very clear. What is outlook is different from projections. So what you find in this presentation is both projections from the World Bank, from IMF, and also from our own local experts here, as well as outlook. Outlook is just a prediction that is not based on empirical research. But of course, so we are saying that after 65 years, Nigeria is still grappling with some of these basic problems: macroeconomic instability, challenges in the oil and gas sector, inadequate infrastructure, a tough doing business environment. I recollect during the Buhari period, the then vice president, took charge of that to make sure that we improve on our ranking in terms of doing business, and I think we did quite well there. Then there is also low agricultural productivity due to the high level of insecurity, as well as lack of mechanization, and then poor power supply. These are all of the issues that we are still grappling with. So when we are discussing Nigeria, we must take these issues and use that to be able to have a clear picture of what is happening to the Nigerian ecosystem. So what will be the key priorities for the Nigerian economy in 2025, in the next 6 to 12 months or so? We need to reduce inflation. We need to improve. We need to introduce budget reforms to focus more on capital expenditure instead of recurrent expenditure. We need to grow our exports, and of course, the ease of doing business need to be improved if we are to attract investors into the Nigerian economy. So the outlook is this: the best case is that we are going to get to 4% GDP growth rate, real GDP growth rate in 2025. The base case will be 3.8%, and the worst case will be 3.5%. Of course, this is based on both outlook and also empirical forecast. Now, so on a quarterly basis, the GDP outlook for 2025, is going to be at 3.94% that's quarter by quarter forecast. And then the base case will be 3.08%, and then 2.28%. That will be the worst situation. If you look at the real GDP growth in 2025, for the optimal pathway, it is going to be about 5.5%. Suboptimal pathway will be 3.4%, and the non-viable pathway will be 2.7%. So we are saying it will be around between 4 and 4.5% for 2025. Inflation, that's a big problem. Will continue to be a big problem for 2025. So we need to see how to plan within this inflationary environment. So you look at it here. The bull case will be at year end will be about 32.12%. The base case will be 36.29%, that is year end. And then, of course, the bear case, it will be about 40.93% for average inflation in Nigeria. So this is also saying the same thing. You can see the same result when this is done in terms using, doing forecasting and projections. The non-viable pathway for inflation is 40.0%. Suboptimal pathway is 34%, and optimal pathway is 24.7%. The exchange rate is still going to be above 1,000. So there are upside and downside risks to these projections that we have just presented, the upside and the downside. At your spare time, you take a look at this upside and downside. What do we do with this? It is that we need to find a way to optimize on the upside and also to minimize the downside. So whatever it is, in terms of GDP, in terms of inflation, of course, in terms of policy outlook, both fiscal and monetary policies, and then what we do in the area of the external sector, we need to make sure that we have to take into account this, both the upside dynamics and the downside dynamics. For the upside, we need to optimize in order to achieve. So what's the likely picture of Nigeria in 2025? Very quickly, economic growth and diversification. There will be moderate growth, no doubt. Diversification efforts. We've been talking about diversification, since 1986, as far as I can remember, during the Babangida era, the SAP era, where they said, we should diversify the productive base of Nigeria. And that's why they established, Nexim Bank, NIPC, and so on. Up to tomorrow, we have not yet been able to diversify because we lack the political will to do so. So in 2025, the picture is very clear. The level of growth of GDP is going to be moderate. It's going to be moderate. It's about 3.84%. The oil and gas sector, we are still going to be depending on oil, and there will be some efforts, to develop the gas sector. Agriculture and food security. Agricultural expansion will improve because I think we seem to be doing something around security for farmers. So insecurity will continue to be an issue, and if anybody wants to invest in the agricultural sector, he must be able to find a way to manage the insecurity himself or herself if you are to be financially well if you go into the agricultural sector. Technology and digital economy. There will be tech boom, and then of course digital transformation will continue to drive the Nigerian ecosystem. Infrastructure development, there will be progress in that area. The challenges will be in terms of funding and corruption, bureaucratic inefficiencies. Population and demographics. Youthful population. Nigerian population is projected to be 230 million. We need to do something about our population. But to be talking about population of 230, just figures, doesn't make sense. But what we do with the population is what is important. Our educational system need to be optimized. Inflation and monetary policy. Where high inflation is still going to be there. Currency stability will be there, but at over 1,500, that is really going to affect businesses. But let me be very clear. It depends on where you are in the equation. If you are a trader, if you are a trader and you want to be financially well, as an FX trader, for instance, some of these figures that we are presenting as if they are not looking very fine. It depends on where you are. So we cannot say that this is bad or this is good. Depends on what you are doing and depends on what you are. But whatever you are doing, you must understand the dynamics very well of what you are doing if you are to be financially well. There will be fiscal challenges. We have said so in terms of rising debt and the fiscal deficit. Security and governance issues will continue to be a challenge. So what are the key drivers of this of change in government? It will be how we are able to pursue fiscal and monetary policy alignment. And I was quite happy when Wale was appointed as the coordinating minister. But we are not seeing too much of that coordination yet. Because in the absence of proper coordination between the fiscal and monetary arm, we are not going to get it right. There has to be coordination. And it is that coordination that provides what we refer to in economics as a general equilibrium framework for you to be able to achieve the optima for a country. So the potential scenarios for Nigeria in 2025. We have optimistic you have the pessimistic scenario. If Nigeria implements effective reforms, it's not just coming up with reforms, improve security and attract significant investment into the economy, then we could experience robust growth and reduce poverty and improve living standards of Nigerians. But the pessimistic situation is if structural challenges persist, insecurity worsens, and we are not able to do anything about those issues, then of course, things are not going to be looking, upwards. In conclusion, by 2025, let me read this. By 2025, Nigeria's economy will likely remain a mix of challenges and opportunities. While the country has immense potential due to its large population, natural resources, and entrepreneurial spirit, realizing this potential will require addressing structural bottlenecks, improving governance, and fostering a conducive environment for investment and innovation. The trajectory of the economy will depend heavily on the actions of policymakers, the private sector, and external factors. These are the key considerations for businesses. One, innovation and adaptability. We need to be adaptable. We need to be agile to be able to stay ahead of trends. That's number one. If you want to stay financially well in 2025, you need to be innovative, and especially in a digital environment. Now, we need to be innovative, whether in terms of services and products development. We need to be innovative and adaptable. Of course, networking and partnership, build relationships, collaborate. Don't be in one corner and you think you can be an expert in everything. You need to network. In fact, your net worth is determined by your network. So partnership, very important. Then, of course, customer-centric approach. Everything you are doing, focus on the customer. Don't do anything from your own prism. It must be from the prism of the customer. Inflation and currency stability. That means we need to manage our costs very well. And also, because there are foreign exchange risk, we need to see how to factor that into the equation of our business. But for those who are into FX trading, of course, we don't get frightened about what is happening. It depends on whether you're able to understand the dynamics of those things. So as we try to conclude now, I need to say that 2025 is good for everyone. It depends on how we look at the equation. So we need to keep ourselves informed of developments in the economy, both domestic and international. I think that is where to draw the conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof. I said over 2,000. I would add that I just sat under your class for 2,551. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You have a question at the other end. Please, I would ask that you please put in the response there. Some things, okay, I will just summarize. We must understand the workings of the economy, know the trends, make sense of the data available. We must look at all the indicators. Thank you for showing and sharing so many numbers. It was really, really, really impactful for me. We'll go immediately to our next speaker. He'll be speaking on tax reforms, facts and myths. Mr. Emmanuel Akpeme is an expert in this field. He's a seasoned legal and regulator expert. His specialty is on tax advisory, regulatory compliance, and corporate governance, with a 90% success rate in complex tax litigation. Mr. Emmanuel Akpeme, you have the floor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Sister Misan. It is my pleasure to be with you here. I want to first of all appreciate the pastor in charge of parish and all the other organizers of this particular financial wellness program. Particularly, I want to appreciate my mommy. I call her my mommy because if you are from CSCS on this call, right, in this particular training, you understand what I mean. So, Mommy Komolafe Elnome, thank you for this privilege to come and share perspectives around the ongoing tax reform bills. Thank you very much. So I'll be speaking within the time I have on the tax reforms and me, separating the facts and the myths. Okay, just a moment. The contents of my presentation will be around the background. We'll now speak about the myths versus the facts, and then we'll talk about what are even the benefits of this particular tax reform bills on us as individuals and even business owners. And then I will share with us a VAT sharing simulation that that was done by the committee, the Fiscal Reform and Tax Committee, right, regarding the implication of the proposed reforms that are in the bills. By the end of this session, participants on this call would gain essentials, some basics about taxation. You'll be able to understand some of the essentials of taxation. You also understand fully what the tax reform bills are about, because most persons just hear it from the news, on social media. Many of us even on this call have not even read the bills. But by the end of this particular session, I'm assuring you that you have a better understanding, as in you can even school or tell somebody about the ongoing bill. It is currently at the public hearing stage at the House of Reps, right? So you'll be able to really speak about it at the end of this session. And then you will also know the impact of this particular bill on you, of the tax reforms on you. Okay. This is a tax meme, right? My daughter asked me about what taxes are like. And so she could understand. I went to the kitchen and ate 46% of her cookies. So this is just putting it on the lighter mode, what taxes are about. I really appreciate Prof for the background and the economic outlook that he presented to us. It is a good foundation for me to really come on, because if you hear Prof, you will understand very well that Nigeria currently has a revenue problem. Nigeria has a revenue problem. For the past 3 to 5 years, our budget has been in deficit. What does it mean? Maybe so I'll put it, bring it closer home. What it means is that Nigeria is spending more than what they are making. So you know the way they will advise us, they say, please, don't spend more than what you earn. The issue with Nigeria now is that Nigeria is spending more than what it is earning. And because of that, our borrowings have increased. The amount Nigeria borrows is really, really on the high side. So if you hear Prof say that our debt servicing has also increased, because we have to service those debts. So it is a critical time, because if you do not increase your money, what you are earning, then your debt profile keeps on going high and high. And that means there's an issue with the country. And because of this particular situation, Nigeria is saying, the federal government is saying, there is need for us to not just look at only a single revenue economy, which is basically the majority is on the oil side. Prof also mentioned that our oil production has increased. But I tell you, even though the oil production has increased, the budgeted barrels per day, we have not even hit the targets. We are about 1.4, right? I think the budget is about 2.1 million barrels per day. So even the target in terms of revenue, in terms of what we have budgeted, we've not even hit it. We are far away from it. And so government is saying, in what other ways can we really generate revenue? And that is where the tax reform bills come about. Some weeks back, I was going through Facebook and someone said something. He said, I know many of us here are already planning our Japa project, right? So this lady said, I'm so happy I'm in the UK. I don't regret coming to the UK because ever since I came to the UK, my children go to school free. The roads are so great, no pothole. Ever since I came to the UK, I can wake up at night, even by 1 a.m. There's no security issue, that and that and that. And I smiled and I said in my mind, she does not know that it is not free. That school that her children are going to, it is not free. It is actually being paid for by her. So this is a system that works, right? This is a country where the system works. So in most advanced countries, they rely heavily on tax. But in Nigeria, even our tax to GDP is lower than even the Africa average. The tax contribution to our GDP is even lower than the African average in Nigeria. So what it means, there are two things. Number one, either people are not paying their taxes, or number two, people are paying their taxes, but the taxes are going into the pockets of some persons. That is leakages. And so that is what this tax reform is coming out to do. Now, the tax reform bills, there are 4 of them. There are 4 of these tax reform bills, 4 in number. 2 are looking at restructuring some agencies, the FIRS and the Joint Tax Board. While the other 2 are looking at the tax administration and harmonizing the taxes, right? But these 4 bills that are before the National Assembly, there are so many things that have heralded, have come about it. There are so many myths around it, and that is what we're going to look at. The myths that have surrounded these bills before the House, because people don't read. Nigerians don't read. The first myth about the present tax bills, tax reform bills on the floor of the National Assembly, is that it is anti-NOT. Some people are saying that the proposed provisions and VAT provisions will make the NOT not to earn money. Another myth around this tax reform bills, they are saying that it is a grand scheme to bring in a consultant, the Alpha Beta. That the way Alpha Beta is the consultant collecting taxes in Lagos State, that is a grand scheme by the federal government, by the president, to bring in Alpha Beta, right, to come to the national level to be collecting taxes. Another myth we see again is what you hear it around it, that how you want FIRS to be so powerful and even more powerful than CBN, and this FIRS is today headed by a Southerner. So that is what you want to do, right? You want to make this body that is headed by a Southerner to be very, very powerful. And then they say, why do you want to scrape NASENI and TET? NASENI, there are earmarked taxes, right? And these taxes for NASENI is to help support science and technology, right? While the TET is to help support development in the tertiary institutions, right? So they are saying, if you want to scrap these agencies, what will happen to our science and technology development? What will happen to our tertiary institutions? But these are myths. What are the facts? The fact is that, number one, the proposed tax reform bills will lead to states earning more from VAT. Currently, the way VAT is being remitted is based on the headquarters of the companies. So a state like Lagos State, we earn so much from VAT based on the derivation formula, because most of these top companies are headquartered in Lagos State. But what this bill is coming out to say is that VAT is consumption tax. It's a consumption tax. So instead of making it based purely on where the headquarters of the companies are, let the derivation be based on where the goods or the services are consumed. So that, for example, MTN has its headquarters in Lagos State. If MTN is to pay its VAT, it will be in favor of Lagos State based on derivation. But you know, and I know, that people in Sokoto, people in Kano State, they also consume MTN network. So the proposed tax bills are actually trying to make states earn more. Number two fact against the myth is that they're saying that a consultant Alpha Beta will come. But the truth is that there's nothing in the bill that is bringing in a consultant. And the truth of the matter is this: if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wanted to bring in Alpha Beta, he does not need to change the law to bring in Alpha Beta as a consultant. The Alpha Beta in Lagos State, it was not a law that brought about Alpha Beta in Lagos State, right? So if in actual fact he wants Alpha Beta to come in, he will not do it via the change or amendment of the law. So there is no consultant that is being brought. Number three is the issue of the powers of FRS. It is best practice across the globe to have one single revenue authority or revenue service that takes care of collection of taxes. If you look at Ghana Revenue Authority, you look at Kenya Revenue Service, you look at the South African Revenue Service, even the HMRC in UK, you understand that it is a single agency that goes after collection of taxes. But in Nigeria, we see various agencies of government going after collection of taxes. You see the Nigerian Customs Service going for collection of taxes. You see NIMASA. You see different bodies, different agencies. They are all up and down. Leaving this, sorry, I think my time is almost up. Now, the fact that these people go after revenue make them to lose focus. It distracts them from the main purpose of their establishment. Custom is supposed to checkmate the borders, but because they have revenue targets, budget targets, they go after revenue. Now, the issue of scrapping Aseni and TAT is unfounded because the only thing that the tax reform bill seeks to achieve is to harmonize all these taxes, not to scrap them, right? And very quickly, as I round off, what is the benefits of these tax reform bills to you as an individual? So that we distill the meat from the facts, it reduces your tax burden in actual fact. So as an individual, 90% of workers will be either exempted or they will pay lower taxes. If you earn currently 1 million naira in a year, you will not pay tax. That's what the proposed bill is talking about, is trying to achieve. If you earn 1.7 million in a month and below, you will pay lower taxes than you're paying today. I'm talking about the pay as you earn personal income tax. So, and people that earn 1 million in a year and 1.7 million and below in a month, they make up 90% of the workforce across public and private sectors in Nigeria. The data shows it. So what we have is that about 90% of workers will either be exempted from paying taxes or they will pay lower taxes than they currently do. Number two, if you are a business owner, a small business owner, for example, you will pay lower taxes. In fact, you will be exempted. Currently, if your turnover is 25 million naira and below in a year, if you are a business owner and your turnover is 25 million and below, you don't pay taxes. What the tax reform bill is seeking to do is to increase the threshold from 25 million to 50 million, so that if you are a business owner and all your sales in a year, right, is amounting to 50 million, you will not have to pay taxes. You will not pay company's income tax. You will not have the responsibility, the obligation to charge WHT. You will not have, to pay WHT, because of course you're not paying CIT. You will not also have the responsibility or obligation to charge VAT for the services or the goods you are selling. So it exempts small business owners, and the threshold has been increased from 25 million to 50 million in a year, if that is your turnover in the year. So you see, it actually reduces the tax burden on small businesses. Another benefit is that it harmonizes the taxes. Currently, businesses in Nigeria pay over 60 taxes. 60 taxes. We counted them across, both from the local government level to the federal government level. Over 60 taxes. Professor was talking about the ease of doing business in Nigeria. This is hampering the ease of doing business, because for you to even know the taxes you have to pay is already burdensome. What this tax reform bills tries to achieve is to harmonize these taxes to say 4 or 5 taxes that you have to pay. Instead of paying 60, you are paying only like 4 or 5 taxes. They are harmonized. And then finally, it brings about 0 rated VAT on essential goods. What the tax reform bills try to achieve is this. The committee looked at it and said that, where does the poorest of the poor spend their money on? Remember, we have 133 million Nigerians that are under multi-dimensional poverty. Where did they spend their money on? Number 1 is on food. Number 2, healthcare. Number 3, education. Number 4, electricity. So these are the major areas that about 90% of the poorest of the poor in Nigeria spend their money on. And what the tax reform bill is coming to say is that there should be no VAT on these categories of commodities or services. So don't charge VAT. And so it reduces the burden on the consumers, right? So these are the benefits. I want to show us, as I close, this data. My time is already up, right? I want to show us that particular myth, because the attack on the tax reform bills has been majorly on the VAT. Now, if you see your screen, if you look at your screen, the current way that it is being done, based on the current VAT model, currently based on the current law, the top 5 states that enjoy the highest VAT, they are Lagos State, Rivers, Oyo, Delta, and Kano. You can see it. Now, if we apply the proposed tax reform bills, it will make Lagos State from earning 80.2% to 80.3% to earning only 15.2%. It will reduce what Lagos State will be earning from the VAT if we apply it. While and River State too, we have a reduction. But states like Oyo State, Delta State, Kano State, we have a jump. Now let us look at the bottom 5 currently. Those that are earning less today. The bottom 5 are Sokoto, Cross River, Zamfara, Imo, Abia State. They are the lowest cadre of people that are earning from the VAT based on the current situation. But if you apply what is proposed in the bill as against what some people are saying, right, it will make Sokoto State, for example, to start earning 486% increase. The Cross River will earn 2,230% increase in its VAT. Zamfara will earn 2,426% increase in what it's currently receiving. States like Imo State will earn 5,840% increase in what is currently collecting from the bucket of the VAT that is being collected. And Abia State will receive over 3,000%. So you see that as against what is being proposed, that states, in fact, the Nigerian Governors Forum, they have been saying that, they should stall it. No, but in actual fact, the bill will make states to earn even higher from the VAT collection. Thank you very much. I'll have to stop here because my time is up, and I'm open for questions and further discussion on this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We're coming to you to the time. It's time. But you see, technology can do all things now. So thank you so much, very much, sir, for your time. Thank you for speaking so passionately about the myths and the facts. Thank you for letting us know that 90% of us will either be exempted or pay lower taxes. Thank you so much for your time. There's a question on the chat. Please, we want you to please respond there. So we'll go ahead to the language of money. The language of money. We have a very, very interesting speaker here. She is the happy employee coach, Mrs. Nneka Jethro Irobe. I would not say much because I really want her to speak, and after then, I'm sure you'll know why I'm smiling as I introduce her. I've sat under some of her sessions, her classes, so I'm excited to have you here, Ma. Please go ahead. She's going to be teaching us about the language of money. But before she goes, please, Madam, before you go, we have put in the chat MTN recharge card and Airtel recharge card. We need some people to be financially well as regards data. So please use it, and please feel free to share on the chat that you are the one that have won it. So Mrs. Nneka, over to you. You want to come up now? Hello.
Okay.
Oh,
Good evening. Please let me know that you can hear me.
I can
Just
hear
trying
you,
to adjust.
and I can
Yeah,
hear you.
I needed to switch the system I was using. You can hear me. Fantastic.
Yes, and see you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. I'm super excited to be with us this evening. And thank you to the earlier speakers, Prof. and Mr. Peme. I hope I didn't murder his name. So I'm here to talk about the language of money, and what I want to do is to take it from a perspective that tells you what you should be doing with money, right? This is a financial wellness session, and what I want to do is to speak to you to say, come, what should you be doing about money as an individual, right? I like the order in which we've done this. Please let me know if you can see my slides. I really hope they are clear. Is it showing? Please, just can someone help me confirm that my slides are showing?
It is.
Okay, fantastic. So I like the order in which we've gone today. Look at it from the global economy, the global landscape in terms of for Nigeria as a whole, as a nation. And then now we want to talk about ourselves, right, as people, like me as an individual. What should I be doing about all of this? And that's the angle from which I am taking the conversation this afternoon. All right. I will just move on. Just sorry, I am using a new system today. So okay, fantastic. Right. I like to teach. When I teach, I like to start with quotes, right? And many of us on this call would know Robert Kiyosaki, who says that getting rich begins with the right mindset, the right words, and the right plan, right? The getting rich. And when I teach this, I usually like to ask, who wants more money? Can I see show of hands? Who wants more money? Who wants more money? Just raise your hand up. Who wants more money? If I say now that the angel of blessing is passing to take your hand, I'm sure many of us will engage more, right? But please, let's be present, right? We all want more money. Fantastic. I see the hands coming up. We all want more money, okay? And the question is, so what do we do? And these guys, both Robert Kiyosaki and Grant Cardone, have said that it starts with your mindset, and then it follows to the actions and things that you do. So it starts with, how are you even thinking about money? What's your relationship with money, right? How do you view money? How do you, is money something to grab? Is money something to desperately chase? What's your assessment of money? Your mindset about money. And I usually, when I teach about money, I like to start there. I deal with like 10 wrong mindsets. We don't have time to go into that today, so I'm just going to carry on to the next thing I want to share with us this afternoon. All right, a bit about me. For 15 years or plus in my career, and usually all my 18-year career, I've constantly budgeted my salary. So if you ask me what I used my salary that I earned in 2020 to do, I can tell you, or 2015. And I've seen how money works. I've taught people how to work money and seen them get results like buying real estate, paying for foreign degrees with the same salary that they said was very small. So I'm very intentional about this. I've authored 5 books, but 3 speak to us as career people, for those who are career people in the house. And it's one is why your boss prefers your colleague, the other is who you should know to succeed at work, and the third is who is using your salary. I'm also the creator of Find It Bible Games, books of Bible-based puzzles and poems that have gone on to sell about 10,000 copies since creation. All right. I would leave this slide and just go on to what I wanted to share with us. I'll share with us 5 things today about the language of money. The first is that money is a measuring instrument. Money is a measuring instrument. The way a thermometer measures temperature, money is a measuring instrument. And I'll tell you what money measures. Money measures value. You see, it's really important that you lock your mind into what this means for you, right? That it's not just talk and a nice talk. If you really truly understand that money is a measuring instrument and measures value, you would then focus. So it's like someone says, oh, the child's temperature is running, let's go to the hospital, and then someone holds the thermometer and they are holding it and refuses to give anybody. No, we read what the thermometer is telling us and then we take action based on what the thermometer is telling us, right? So whether we have money or we don't have money, money is a measure of value and tells us something about ourselves, about our understanding of it as an instrument, as a measuring instrument. So we've got to be very clear about this. Okay, money was created to enable human beings to do transactions. It was created to ease the exchange of value. Many of us on this call will understand the history of money around the trade by barter system, from calories, all of that, gold, paper money. It's really important that you see money for what it is, because otherwise it's what is destroying many of us in our place today, where some people in certain quarters just keep grabbing because we think that is it. Value is what is more important, right? Money is not a measure of your worth. It's not by the account balance that we should be talking to you with respect or otherwise. Money is never going to run out. After all, we know that our government just goes and prints more paper, right? And money is not evil in itself. If you understand how money works, it will determine whether you will be rich or otherwise, and that's fact. Okay, I'm mindful of time, so I'm going to go. Money is currency. Money is currency. I like to describe it like if you go to the beach and you see the force of water coming, right? That is how powerful money is. Money is currency. And time and money are called currency. Both money and time are called currency. All right? So money is currency. You trade one for the other. Money and time are currency. You trade one for the other. You trade one for the other. Money and time are currency. So please pay attention to this. Remember, we started by defining that money is paper, is a measuring instrument. You trade one money for time, right? Money tends to follow the path of least resistance, which is to spend. Money likes to be spent. Money likes to be spent, right? It's the same as some of us on this call are morning people. We like to wake up early in the morning. Some poor are night people. Money has an identity. It likes to be spent. But when you understand this, money then begins to take on your own personality and identity, which means you have control over it. All right? It's very important that we understand these things. One thing I like to say about money is that money makes you feel like it is plenty until it finishes. For those of us who are salary earners, salary came in or is coming in, that first 1 week, you're on top of the world. You are balling like the younger ones will say. You are like almost the children will want you. Some people say your taste buds will change. It's no more one piece of meat, it's two, it's XYZ, right? All of those things is showing you the power of money. We are Christians on this call, and the Bible tells us that God said you cannot serve mammon and me. The only thing that God put together like that is money. He says you cannot serve mammon and me. So money is powerful. It's a force. It's like you go to the transformer, you're walking past a transformer and it is humming, that sound, and they warn you. You have several warnings from there. It's really important that you understand this about money. All right? The next thing I want to share with you is a few more quotes that money, like your emotions, is something you must control to keep your life on the right track. When I found this quote, I was very pleased. Money, like your emotions, is something you must control if you want to keep your life on the right track. If you are serious about staying the course, about making meaning out of your life, you must control money when it comes into your hands. One of the things that I ask people to do when I teach on money is to go and download their last 3 to 6 months account statement. You'll be shocked how you've allowed money to control you all this while. You may be disappointed, but the important thing is you take that step, you do that review, and you begin to take actions. One of the things I tell people is that it's not how much you earn, but how much you retain that determines your financial freedom. It's not how much you earn, it's how much you retain that determines your financial freedom. All right. The third thing I want to share is that money needs a leash. Your money needs a leash. Money needs a leash. The wealthy always budget. I tell people that companies, conglomerates, countries, continents run on budgets. Why do you think you can do without a budget? The wealthy always budget, and your budget presents that leash. The same way you see a dog is, I write about the story in my book, Who's Using Your Salary, about walking past a house and a dog was barking, but I had confidence and I was fine because there was a fence. It cannot jump out and reach me. Your money can be backing all what it wants. Your budget is what says, back, shout what you want to shout. This is where you are staying. This amount is going here. This amount is going there. This amount is creating value for me. Right? You must be very intentional about this. Okay? You must be intentional about understanding this using a budget. Dave Ramsey, which if you don't know him, you should go and follow him on Instagram, is a leading financial wellness coach. And he says a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Many of us on this call are in that WhatsApp group. If I asked you what you use December salary to do, or January salary to do, or the inflow that came into your business in January, some of us are going to struggle. In fact, statistics show that 2 in 3 of us on this call are going to struggle to explain to me, to explain to anyone, to be able to account what we use that money to do.
Hello, Nika, we cannot hear you. We're losing you, or we have lost you. One of the two. Let's give her some few seconds to connect back. Lost her. We'll give her some few seconds to connect back. But be reminded to use the chat, the Q&A for questions. Our speakers and our panel will respond there as much as possible. Then for those that have received our cards, will you be kind to please just identify yourself so that we know that we've not just thrown away. Bolo, the risk. Okay. Do we have Mrs. Neka back? Are you back with us? Are you with us? The happy employee coach. Okay, so we'll take the question.
Sorry, good evening. Technology did what it wanted to do, and I had backup internet, but I'm back on another. I'm back now. Please let me know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
You can. I apologize. I did quite realize exactly when I went off, but I'm going to just try to continue. I think I was talking about the free resource.
Speaking about money needs a leash.
A leash. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Please let me know if you can see. Oh no, you can't. For some reason, this is not presenting. Let me try to share again. So I was talking about the fact that money needs a leash, right? And that you have to be intentional about that. I was saying that the leash you need to use is a budget, right? And I was talking about um the resource that I have that you can use. Okay. Please, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, you've taken it down again, but I could see it.
Okay, let me try
It
again.
was off at the moment.
Can you see it now?
Yes, yes, I can see
Okay, fantastic.
3,500 notes.
Yes, so I was saying that we should go and get this resource to help you and be very intentional about how you plan your salary, all right? How you plan money that comes in. When it comes into your account, this is how much for this, is how much for that, all right? I have 5 points to share with us. So this is the fourth point. Money is never enough. I think that the sooner as human beings we understand that money is not designed to be enough in that sense, we are free, because what that does for you is the point I have at the bottom, which is you can want more money while being content with what you have today. Remember talking about the language of money. You can want more while being content with what you have and making the most of it on a regular. Why is it not enough? Growing family needs. I tell people that I first started working was me alone. Then I got married. Then I got children. Then the children are growing. Then they're entering school, secondary school. So your growing family needs exist. Many of us also yield to the pressure to keep up with the Joneses. We are constantly under that pressure to look like, right? That we need to be very careful about that. Okay, inflation. Like I say, inflation is growing like wild grass, and the income may not necessarily be increasing at that rate. Okay, so we have to be very intentional with how we use our money. The fifth point today is that money responds to value. So if you want more money, create more value. Create more value. Give it to people of value. So serve people of value. And something one of a leading voice in the Christian faith says is, don't stop until you are serving kings. Do not stop until you are serving kings, right? Bible says that the gift of a man will bring him before kings. So you keep creating value and keep looking for a way to serve people of value consistently. Put money where value grows. So look at your expenses and say, of all my expense buckets, what quantum of my income that is coming in is going into something that is growing value? And then you be a person of growing value. So keep adding to yourself, keep learning, keep growing in expertise, keep building competence in the area of your skill set, right? In the area of your career, in the area of your chosen field. Keep building competence there. One of the things I want to leave with us this evening is that you have inherent value because Jesus lives in you. You have the Holy Ghost in you, and so you have inherent value. You know what to do at every single point in time. You are wise. The Holy Spirit lives in you. You are very wise. All right. So don't take that for granted. Maximize that knowledge. All right. I have a resource here for you which you can get. It's my book, Who is Using Your Salary? And it speaks to employees, showing you how to leverage that small salary. You think everybody believes the salary is small to build wealth. All right. And so that I had 15 minutes and I know I had some interruptions, but this is my session with us this evening. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. I know network has done a thing to you today, so
That's fine.
it happens sometimes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Money is a measuring instrument. Money is currency. It has an identity. It is not how much you earn, it's how you use it. Money needs a leash. Thank you so much, Mrs. Neka, for always showing up despite everything today. Thank you so much. I understand. So we have opportunity to ask questions. Please put your questions in the chat. Because of our time, we are trying to manage everything. So that's why we've not had the opportunity to take speakers and answer verbally the questions. So we'll go immediately to the panel session. Just some seconds. Okay, to move us forward in this session, we would have our own doctor, Dr. Unoma Ngbende. Doctor, over to you. I would go off now. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, esteemed guests, panelists, speakers, and all our viewers online and online. I welcome you all to today's panel discussion on financial wellness. And I want to believe that we have been learning a whole lot about the economy, about tax, the myths and the facts, and also the language of money. So my name is Unoma, as my co-host has introduced me, and I'll be your anchor for this next session. It promises to be engaging and an enlightening conversation. In today's ever-evolving world, it's important that we understand the role our finances play in our well-being, and the actions that we must adopt to be able to secure our future. So we have gathered a diverse set of speakers who will be sharing with us their insights, their experiences, and their perspectives. Our goal is to foster a thoughtful dialogue that will not only inform us, but also help us to know the next steps that we have to take towards inspiring us to develop a culture of financial wellness. So before we dive in, I'll quickly introduce our panelists to us, the first of which is Ms. Davida Echetabu. Please, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Pardon me. Ms. Davida, also known as Vida, has nearly 2 decades of experience in the financial industry. She's a distinguished wealth manager, business development person, a strategist, and a good communicator. She's the founder and consultant general of 4th Avenue Limited. Please join us as we welcome Ms. Davida Echetabu.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Ms. Ms. Davida.
Vida is fine. You don't have to put the prefix, just Vida.
Okay,
Vida.
beautiful. On the panel also, I have the honor to introduce Mrs. Temitope Adeosun, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Apel Assets Limited. She's a fellow of the Chartered Stockbrokers with over 25 years experience in investment banking, advisory, portfolio management, and more. She She has held various roles in different sectors in the financial industry. And I know that she's a subject matter expert in this field. So she'll be sharing with us some of her insights also as we dive into financial wellness. So welcome, Mrs. Temitope Adeosun. Thank you for joining us tonight. And last but not the least, I have Mrs. Nneka Jethro. She has spoken earlier on, so we're familiar with her. She's the happy employee coach. So she'll be telling us and giving us insights on how to be happy as an employee in our industries or wherever we find ourselves. So you're welcome, Mrs. Nneka. Thank you for being on this panel. So without wasting much time, we'll dive straight into our discussions for tonight. And I trust that by the end of today's session, that all of us will leave here with more value added, with more insights, and a deeper understanding on how we'll have to manage our finances. So first on my list, on my questions, goes to Vida. Vida, we've been hearing about black tax. And it's a word that quite a number of us are not very familiar with. Can you please explain to us what black tax means, more especially in the Nigerian context? And how can we balance financial strain of supporting family and friends with our own financial well-being?
All right. Thank you very much once again. I appreciate the leadership of Lagos Province 2 Israel Assembly for organizing this and inviting me along with the esteemed colleagues I have speaking with me at this session. So just to jump right into it, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. All right. So black tax, as we say it, and I don't know why it's called black tax. I think that's just discriminatory because tax is tax, whether it's black, green, purple, or white. And the white people also pay this tax. It's just that they have finessed over the years. But that being said, black tax is generally what we call, or what can be referred to as dependency obligations. And that means that, paint a picture, we have one uncle who happens to be the fortunate person who works in oil and gas. Ms. Adeosun, you're magically upside down. All right, so that uncle or that auntie or that sister or that brother works in oil and gas. And clearly, as we know, oil and gas is one of the best paying industries historically. And then, as it so happens to be, everybody, generally speaking, expects brother, sister, uncle, or auntie to help because they are not earning as well. And, maybe rent is due, school fees is due, pocket money is short, they travel abroad, they now have to remember to buy something for everybody that is aware they traveled. And even the ones that are not aware they traveled would have heard that they traveled. And, all those things add up to black tax. So it is our informal way of taking care of our immediate and extended families. That's why it's called black tax, generally speaking. Yes, so I have defined it for everybody's ease of understanding, and that's a very general, but I think it's an apt explanation. All right, so did I answer your question? Do I go further? I can go further, but let me pause.
You did. So now, with regards to the balance, how do we now balance the strain? Yes, the key person who is more or less who God has blessed, quote and unquote, in the family.
Yes.
So how is he able to balance being able to manage family and friends' expectations and also ensuring that his own financial well-being is not impacted?
Okay, so Mrs. Iroba has said something, and maybe for the sake of this platform, is it okay I address you by Nneka, by your first name, please? All right, thank you.
Yes, 100%.
All right, thank you. So Nneka has laid the foundation, and she said something that I preach all the time. A budget is your friend. And it's particularly tricky for us. And because this is a Christian gathering, I will take the liberty of speaking freely because I'm a Christian and this is home. Church, wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, is home. Especially in the church setting. And for those of us that got into Christendom pretty young, many years ago, there was a lot of preaching around you sow, you give, you help, and trust that it would come back to you. And that teaching is not wrong. It was probably not fully balanced, but it's not wrong altogether. Now, if, like she had mentioned, I use those same examples, if a whole nation, an organization, a multinational, as wealthy as they are, they run with budgets, why wouldn't individuals who are trying to figure out their left from their right run with a budget? It may not be perfect, and nothing says that you may not break your budget, but a budget at least keeps you in a corridor at the barest minimum. So you're not going far left or far right. That's what organizations have a budget. It doesn't mean they don't step out of it or they don't go for extra budgetary requests. However, that budget serves as a compass, a guide as to where their money is going and how they're spending it. Now, I like to give practical examples, and I would use myself as an example. When I was still working in paid employment, and we have these ad hoc staff, these cleaners that, Ola Clean and PLS and all sorts of, cleaning services. And of course, they know when salaries are being paid. If you work somewhere long enough, you know when everybody's shoulder is a bit higher, as bounces are a bit bolder. We're not eating at the cafeteria, we're ordering in and all that. Everybody knows those vibes, And so there had been this young man who, before I even say what is on my mind, magically he has read my mind. He knows what I want. He shows up. And I kept telling myself, Vida, prepare. The day of reckoning is coming. He's going to come with a request. And I just said, Lord, please let it not be a request that I cannot answer, help. Let me not become Auntie Agbaya that, has no shame. Anyways, one day I walked into the building and he said, Auntie, they will scratch the hair. Auntie, I wanted to see you. And I was like, okay, no problem. Let me settle in. You know when to come and find me. In my mind, I said, Vida, it has happened. Today is your day. Anyway, so this gentleman walks up to me and tells me about his house rent and all that. And I said, however, you know that they paid us 2 days ago. So you're even a bit late in the scheme of things. He now went on to say something that made my brain do quicken, and I was like, hold on, wait a minute. And he said, no, he's not telling me because of this salary that was just paid. He's telling me ahead of my next salary. So you see what he was doing. I was his budget for his salary. Something just unhooked in my head at that point. I said, I don't get it. How do you come to tell me about a salary I have not even earned? So as I'm working now, I should be carrying your burdens in my mind. I that earned the salary, I don't know what of course, I read him in the Riot Act and all that. I later on gave him a job as a side hustle. Come clean my house, do stuff and all. And I paid him. Of course, he benefited so many other things alongside that. However, why I told that story was to point out to you that, one, he had planned that I would be his black tax source. That's one. Two, he was working with a budget. So he had figured out the people that would be his source of income. So if I didn't have my own budget, and I knew what I had allocated in my budget per month, that this is going to go towards helps. That's what I used to call it, towards helps. Anybody who asks me for help, I will take from there and give. When it has finished, it has finished. If nobody asks me that month, it rolls over and I add the next quarter's own. That way, I always had something to give because one, I'm a Christian. Two, in Africa, we do not turn away from helping people that are less privileged than we are. However, we have the responsibility to manage it such that you are not drowning as well while trying to help the people who are sinking. So the airlines will always tell you that wear your own mask before you assist the other person. I hope that analogy answered the question in real life terms.
Actually
Thank you.
describes it. Thank you very much. And moving on to Nneka, talking about budget and being able to manage your own self before helping others. So the investment landscape we know is confusing with a wide range of options, from stocks to bonds to real estate. This time around, the new word in town is cryptocurrency. And so everybody's looking for where they can invest or how they can go about investing, so that even that little money that they have, they can be able to get some returns on investment. So what are the principles that one needs to keep in mind, to avoid common mistakes and so as not to be victims of scammers? Because we hear a lot of people who have been scammed because they want to make an investment in one business or the other. So what are those things that we need to put in mind? What principles do we need to adopt? What pitfalls do we need to avoid so that we are not, we're not victims?
Thank you. I think that the first thing is that to understand that in our climb, everybody needs more money. In the context in which I work professionally, I provide salary advisory services, right? And I say to people that everybody needs more. The way, we are here, the price of egg alone, just the price of egg and the way it's going, right? So I think the first thing is you have to have the mindset that you're not the only one on the journey. Now, the challenge with being in this space where we all want more money is that there may tend to be a desperation to quickly multiply money. And that's where trouble starts. This quickly make money is why things like, and I can say it here, betting is thriving in our because we all want to be able to make a quick buck without creating value. Without creating value that we can see. We are betting on other people's value. So that's a natural consequence of being in this climb. We are desperate to make. Then in a situation where we also tend to celebrate wealth and display of wealth as a sign of wisdom or having arrived, further exacerbates this pressure. Having said that, I would like to say next that to make sense of making investments, what's an investment? An investment is something that grows value for you consistently. So when we say betting, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm saying it here because I know we have a mixed crowd and we have it cutting across age groups, faith, religious context. It is cutting across people. Yeah, you'll be shocked people on this call who are hooked with betting. Betting is not an investment. That's as far as I'm concerned. It is not, because an investment is something that you put more that creates value over time. Now, to choose what to invest in, choose something that you understand and you understand how it creates value. So you understand this thing. If I said, call a company name, MTN, I know how they are creating value. They are helping people to be able to make calls. They are helping us to be on this call today to add value. There's data. Do you understand? What do you understand? Bank, want to buy a bank stock, or you say, okay, the bank is helping people to gather money together to invest it for them, keep their money safe, and invest in different capital projects. You understand what they are doing. You have people around you who are running small businesses that you trust and you've seen them show consistency over time. But I also think that the number one investment is in yourself and who you are becoming. The certifications that you get now, don't go on a certification addiction, because some people are there from one to the other, from one to the other, from one. Who are you becoming? What are you learning? What circles are you operating in, right? Invest in what you understand. Diversify your investment to the extent that you are saying which one is long-term, which one is short-term. Which one can I leave there for the next 1 year? And what portion do I need to be able to turn to cash quickly should I need to in another 3 months, right? Don't bite too much. So I'm dropping the tips as I'm going, but underpinning them with the foundation of knowing what an investment is, that it creates value over time, and that it's something that you understand. The fact that you work for somebody, sit down and understand what they are doing first before you go. I have seen people who say, oh, somebody said, come and put money. And as I was watching it grow, by the 10th month, just 2 months when me too, I will cash out. The app crashed. The disk, I've heard those stories over and over again. So be sure you understand what is creating value and then diversify, because sometimes you put money in something, it loses value. So diversify it, but within the bounds of what you understand, right? And invest in yourself as well.
I'm writing, as in I'm taking notes to understand what is creating value and diversify. Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. So I'll come to Mrs. Adeosun. Still in line with what Nneka has talked about, we know that as we grow older, at some point, all of us are going to retire. And for a lot of people, retirement planning can seem very far, as in it's still something that is in the future, it's futuristic. It's not anywhere close. So some of us are just starting out in our careers. Some of us are starting out in our businesses. And a lot of people have funds are limited financially to be able to start implementing these retirement strategies. So what simple steps can you tell us or teach us that we can take to set ourselves up for a comfortable retirement? And then what resources are available around us that we can use to navigate this process of retirement?
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will just start from where the last speaker stopped. It's important we plan. Retirement doesn't just come, upon us, right? So, in Nigeria, I think retirement age is 65. So it doesn't just come upon us. And so planning is key to retirement. I'm happy that all the previous speakers spoke about planning, about budgeting. Those are important. It is important that we plan deliberately, plan for retirement. And it's also good, I know the previous speaker also said that, okay, in the last 17 years, she could actually tell you what she has done with her salary. That is just important, that we start early. So I think number one point that we should all do to plan retirement and to ensure that we retire well is to start out early. And this doesn't just include or involve only salary earners. What I hear most people say, oh, it's easier for you when you earn salary to make plans. But so far that anyone become of age and you start to earn income, it is at that time that you start to plan for retirement. So retirement involves setting money aside from early time you start to earn income. So for salary earners, it is easier because even Nigerian government has made RSA important. You contribute monthly as an employee, and your employer also contribute to your RSA account. So when you retire, you have some money. But that aside, if you are doing your business, it is important that you also do the same. It is important that you set some money aside for retirement. So number one point is to start out early and save for retirement. And we mentioned that there are various types of investments. Some can be long-term. You have long-term, you have 30-year bond that you can buy, for instance, that at the end you earn interest on maybe by annual basis. And at the end of the 30 years, you still have your funds. So various options are important. So number one thing is to start out early, then understand yourself. It's also important that we have good view about what our lifestyle is. What do you want to achieve? What are you setting out? Some people taste determine what you set out aside every month. So if your state is very high, you know that at retirement, this is the threshold that you're giving yourself, then you budget towards it and plan early. Our tastes our lifestyle determine how much we save, how much we plan for retirement. Again, when we save, I think a lot of us also make mistake that keeping money in savings accounts, that doesn't make the money to grow. Investment is key. So at some point you accumulate money, but you must invest with the fund. I think the last speaker also spoke about, money can't be enough. I think that's just the nature of how God created it to be. It can never be enough. You must start early. You must create a budget of what you spend per time. And so some amount of money goes into that long-term investment. And again, you must understand the investment and understand your risk profile. Risk profiling is important because, some of us have lower risk tolerance. That's all. Once the investment perhaps maybe diminish or decline in price, we panic. And, that can bring a lot of issues to us. So it's important that we also talk to experts in the field of financial sector. We can't know it all. I tell people that you cannot know it all. And if you don't know, and you don't know, it's even better so that you seek help. Financial management is key that you start early in time to ensure that we are able to retire well. Again, investment diversification. So have long-term plan, have short-term plan, have those income that, long-term investment that you can fall back on. And there are various options that we said in the market, you have some short-term, you have some medium-term investment that you can do, and you have some long-term. Some are in capital market, some are in equities market, and some are in real estate. So after understanding yourself, understanding the lifestyle, and know what you want to do at retirement, it is important that we now make plans to ensure that we have enough savings to cater for retirement. Again, because we are Africans, and one of it will say, oh, okay, I'll train my children so that they can take care of me. I think that is also changing so fast now. We talk to young people, oh, everybody, people will tell you that the salary is not even to take care of the earner, the person that works for it, talk less of, making efforts. So as individual, we must start out early and plan ourselves. Why it's good to train our children, why it's good to take care of, the black tax that we just spoke about. It is important that we plan for that retirement early enough. Thank you. I think that's, I hope that answers the question well.
It does. Thank you very much. Because of our time constraints, I wanted to ask each and every one of us if we are all financially well, at least to give me a perspective from your own experiences. In 1 minute from each of you, can you just tell us, are you financially well? If yes, what are the steps that you took? If no, what can you do better in 1 minute? Vida.
Okay. I don't know. Should I? Okay. Should I start?
Okay, start.
I'll yield. Please start.
All right. Okay. So when you talk about financial wealth, a lot of people.
1 minute.
All right. Okay. So yes, financial wellness is for you to be able to meet your short-term obligations, medium and long-term.
From your own perspective, your experience, are you financially well? Yes or no?
Well. I am financially well.
How did you achieve that?
Okay, so perhaps maybe my background has helped me. So starting early is important. And I tell you, and I don't want to talk about my personal experience, but I also want to talk about what is also important in financial wealth. We look at it, it's from a part of an holistic approach, right? And it talks about, the general wellness, which is really very important. Emotional, intelligence, health, everything work together to ensure that you have financial wellness. If you are not in any of those areas well, it can impact your financial life. And so where you are chasing being financially wealthy or wellness and pursuing that, you should also chase other form of wellness, which include physical, which include spiritual, which include intellectual and emotional. So all is imbibed for you to to make you
Thank you.
financial.
Thank you. Vida, 1 minute, please. We have short of time.
All right. So am I financially well? I would say that that is an aspirational position. There is no, I'm rich enough, I'm comfortable enough. If there was Mark Zuckerberg, Dangote, and the likes, they should have all closed shop by now, and they should be living off what they have. And so I am not unhealthy. However, there is room for improvement. There's room to grow. I wasn't always this wealthy. I was in a really, really bad spot in 2016. But the Lord helped me. I was able to, address matters, make a U-turn, put things in place. That's a totally different story, a different conversation that maybe when there's another session, if everything works out, I would be glad to share, because people should be able to learn from that. But I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty much healthy. I'm not suffering a cardiac arrest. My bills are being paid. I can go on holiday if I want to go on holiday. However, I play also a very modest principle. If I don't have to spend the money, I won't.
1 minute.
I like
You have shut your time.
I try to believe I'm frugal, but I also don't deprive myself. So it's finding a balance and knowing when to contain it and to be content. Righteousness with contentment is of great gain. You cannot go wrong with that. That's critical.
Thank you. Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you. Nneka.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, I would
Yes.
say I'm on an 8.5 or 9. And the reason I say that is that historically I've been very careful about how I use money. And again, my background has helped me. So when I mentioned background is to charge us as parents on this call to see what will your children say about how you supported their financial understanding, right? And their financial wellness. Yes, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children, but if you don't give them the skills they need. My father taught me budgeting, for example, right? So that's why it's, and then the second part to it is to the future. When you look to the future, do you feel rest? And do I feel rested? Or do I feel rest assured that I can continue to create value in the future that gives me money? Yes. Do I have skills that I can trade with to give me money? Yes. And so to everyone on this call this afternoon, you also ask yourself, beyond the job you are doing today, within the job you are doing today, what skills can you continually use to create value in the future? So that if your income today stops, you know what to do to create value. Remember that money answers to value. And I understand that. And if you can understand it, then you can work it to always have money.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for such insightful answers that you have given, making yourself vulnerable to explain to us your own experiences and perspectives. Thank you very much. Without wasting much time, we'll move to the next segment, and that is Ms. Tope Adeosun, who wants you to speak to us on the practical steps, practical next steps. So over to you, ma'am, as you take the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you.
Please, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right, okay. Thank you once again, and thanks for this great privilege. I know our time is fast gone, so I will be brief. And starting with this slide. So wellness, and I think I spoke about it briefly. And quickly, we can all look at the screen and, this total wellness. And for me, it's all encompassing. So financial wealth, physical, emotional, occupational, intellectual, all work together for our wellness. And when you see a defect in one of these sub wellness, so to say, it may affect the other one. So if there is a drag in the health, its impact on the savings that we have, its impact on the investments. If we are not stable emotionally, if we are not stable spiritually, it's work. It might impact, on the financial wellness, which we are actually trying to discuss today. So I want all of us to look at this slide and see how well we are doing in all this that is identified here, in our lifestyle, in our social, because social life is also important, you know, intellectual life, environmental, you know, and relationships. How are we doing? So
Hello, ma'am.
wellness is
Sorry to interrupt. Please, can you put your presentation in a presentation mode?
okay.
It's-
Okay,
yeah.
sorry about that.
So it's, yeah.
Right. Okay. Can you see better? Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
right. So this just a holistic view of our wellness. But what we are talking about today is the financial wellness. And looking at it, you know, the key takeaway without taking time, our time is total wellness is a holistic approach to health and well-being. As human beings, we need to be healthy. We need to be at our best to ensure that we are able to function properly. So total wellness, holistic wellness is important. And, you know, just like I identified, it includes physical, emotional, spiritual, environment, social, and financial. But what we are talking about today is financial. Financial wellness is not to have all the money in the world, no. And, you know, it's not, for instance, you know, the last speaker also mentioned that perhaps maybe a Dangote would have stopped at some point. But financial wellness is not to the extent of the money in your bank account. No, it's not that you have a very fat investment, or so to say, but your ability to be able to meet your basic need, manage money effectively to ensure that you have value for your investment, and to ensure that you're able to meet both your short-term and long-term purposes, which differs. So my view about my short-term or long-term or medium-term may be different from Nneka, for instance. It may be different. It may differ from Sister Misan. And so financial wellness is about understanding, embracing, and adopting practices to enable us to have a healthy financial life. That's just what financial wellness is. When you are able to meet your short-term obligation, your medium-term obligations, and long-term obligations, then you are financially well. So additionally, it entails changing our behavior. What we notice is that a lot of people perhaps maybe are not financially literate enough, or just have bad habits about money. And just like we said, money is a it's a value. It's a currency that we can use to unlock so many opportunities. Again, it's about practicing better money habits, you know, setting our goals, taking steps to achieving them. It involves learning how to build a budget. When you have a budget, how you leverage on opportunities, including debt at times, how you save enough to ensure that you are covered, you are able to meet all your short-term, medium, and long-term obligations. So elements of financial wellness include how to save, how to spend, which includes how to budget, and how to plan properly, protecting your finances to ensure that you maximize its value. So in summary, wellness is a journey to financial health. So financial wellness is a journey which we should all embrace. So there are common mistakes, that mindset that people have. You know, we look at the young people and, you know, wrong mindset. Oh, please, we only live once. Let's enjoy. Money will come again. I will work some more and get money. That's a wrong mindset that we all, some of us also do have. It's good to enjoy. Why we won't take enjoyment out of? Because yes, life, it's good also. But again, we must plan every time that we have. We know what inflation has done to Nigeria. Anyone that has not properly planned in the last 1 or 2 years, plan ahead, you know, plan properly. Perhaps maybe singing a different song in today's Nigeria, and that's happened, and it will continue to happen. So you have changes. So not having emergency fund, you know, especially this land comes from young people. I beg God, no go shame us. Let's spend, you know, let's enjoy now. We'll take, you know, I can't invest. I can't even put my money in some investments. I don't want to hear story. I don't understand the investment, and so I'm not going to do it. So these are some wrong mindset that we have. But right mindset is learning about investment option, seeking help, reading, studying, seeking financial experts' advice, on what to do part-time with your finances. So I've identified more wrong mindset that people have. Over reliance on single source of income, which is not good. Even if you are a salary earner, you should have your passion and you should drive your passion to earning income. Borrowing, that is not as common in Nigeria. In other jurisdictions, you see that this is common. So they live on borrowing. Every asset is borrowed. While that, you can't take that totally away from some jurisdiction. You should also look at it and how it impacts on finances. So right man said, I have salary, I need extra income. You must be able to make multiple income or have multiple streams of income. So practical steps, and these are broad actions. And I think we've spoken about this over and over. There must be vision. Vision is really important. What do you want to achieve? It is important we set that from the onset. Once you begin to earn income, what do you want to achieve? Write them down. It is important we write what we want to achieve. How do you want retirement to be? How do you want to do? I met someone recently that told me, oh, he planned to retire. He retired at age 50. I was asking him, how did you do it? He said, I'll tell you. And he was able to, he said he was working as if it was deliberate about being retired at 50. And he's retired. He's now 60, and he said he's been retired for 60 years. So it calls for deliberate action. Have a vision. Then number 2 step is, how do I achieve this goal? Identify specific measurable action. We say set SMART goals. Goals that are smart, that are measurable, that are realistic, and time bound. So we should have that goal. How do you want to get there? What are the steps? So establish a roadmap. You also, when you are planning, you must understand obstacles. And one of the obstacles, perhaps maybe that we mentioned now, is the black tax. You must know when to stop. It's good to say no to some demands. It's good to have a budget. And once you exceed the budget, it's good to stop. It's good to also, while we have some family obligation, it's good to properly scrutinize things to ensure that we don't overspend and to ensure that we spend within the budget that we have. If you need skill, for instance, learning about financial and what we are doing today also entails, learning about, we say language of money, how to do. Then action, commence immediately. Once we have identified what we want to achieve, have a monthly target, have a weekly target, have a daily target, deploy resources, ensure that if you need to study, please do. If you need to seek financial experts on advice, please do. And the last step is to ensure that you monitor. What we also see is that some people do investment without monitoring them. I think one of the speakers also spoke about understanding investment that you are going into. It is important. You need to regularly monitor it to ensure that it's on track and evaluate it alongside with the plan that you have set for yourself. It may change and you can actually review your plan. So to financial literacy, that's practically what we are actually doing today. How do we ensure that our money works for us? How do you ensure that we maximize the value of money? Money that is left, for instance, inflation in Nigeria after the rebasing stood at 24, which is even still very high. How do we ensure that we maximize the value of money and to reduce the impact of inflation on the money and to ensure the money works properly for us? Number 1 is to manage your short-term finances. It is important to have a budget. We can't take that out, and we cannot overemphasize that. Understand your household income, how much comes into the household, how we want to live, what are the expenses. It is also important that we live within our means and ensure that we gradually find a way to increase our income. It is important that we live within what we earn including all our expenses, children, house rent. We should ensure that it's within what we budget. Manage long-term finances, and that is no matter how little or now how much we earn, we must set aside money, save, invest. Once savings start to grow, you must invest it. That's when we can maximize the value that it comes with. Expand your income, plan for retirement. We spoke about that earlier. Seek financial experts and acquire skill. It is important that we also all understand the language of money so that we can profile our investment and properly put our mind to work. Present financial freedom. We should improve the present financial. That's gaining control over our expenses. We have to be deliberate in savings, in our investment, in spending habits. It has to be deliberate. We see a lot of people, you know, oh, I didn't know when I actually bought it. And we see a lot, you know, looking at our culture, you know, someone brought something to me, they say Ashwebi, and, you know, it was going for a ridiculous price. You can actually say no to such, you know. While it's good to enjoy, there are some that are expensive that you have to, if it's outside the budget, please say no to them. So be deliberate to ensure that we have financial freedom, achieve future freedom. That's following through your process. Once you have a plan, medium, short-term plan, and long-term plan, ensure that you follow through the plan. Be committed to it. If you have a target of savings, please be committed to it on a regular basis. And I will put this out, thought of marble. This is Warren Buffett, and he said, "Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after savings." It is important that when we have income, because expenses will continue to grow. I can tell you that, and money is never enough. So if you have it, please save immediately. Have a budget. Put what you are going to save aside, and ensure that you invest properly. Practical step, which perhaps maybe summarize what I've spoken about: establish a budget, manage your cash flow, expand streams of income, build emergency fund, because those ones will come once in a while, and you must have something that you can fall back on. Again, what are the golden rules for managing money? Also, I'm happy that this also was also spoken about by the other speaker. Don't spend more than you earn. It is just important. I think, you know, what we face currently, the speaker also said in Nigeria is spending far more, and that calls for worry. But we as individuals, we must ensure that the rule of money management is to ensure that we spend within our means. Number 2 rule, always plan for the future. We can't overemphasize on that. Please, number 3, which is also very important, is to ensure that your money grows and it works for you. Money that is kept in savings will grow, but very slowly. So investment is key in ensuring that we plan properly. A golden rule, so don't spend, please save before you spend. You can have a budget. You must have a budget. Apply 50-30-20 rule to your income, and ensure that 20% in the minimum of your income is saved once you earn it. Prioritize needs over wants. I think most of us are guilty of this. You know, we go to the market, we want to buy item A, but we saw B and C because they are attractive. We just go for it. Track expenses, minimize unnecessary impromptu purchases. I'll be quick. Rule 2, always have a plan for the future. Establish short-term, medium, long-term plan. Activate more income streams. Start early. It is important that we start out early in managing our fund and ensuring that the money works for us. And the 3rd golden rule is help your money grow. Convert savings into investments. There are various investment opportunities that we can do. Acquire financial management skill, which is, I think it's important for all of us. And, you know, I'm happy that that is what the province is bringing, and that is what we're actually doing to ensure that we are all financially literate and that we can manage our fund properly. Talk to financial experts. Understand your risk tolerance level and understand the investments. This is key, that we understand the investment that you are going into. Please ask questions. Even when you talk to experts, please ask questions. It helps you also to monitor and to ensure that the investment aligns with your plan. Again, why is investing important? And this is Warren Buffett again, saying that investing is a process of laying out money now to receive more money in the future. It is important that we set money aside to ensure that it grows and we have more value even in the future. Some investment options which we can actually think about, we said we must have a planned budget. Money market investment, that's fixed, include fixed deposit, treasury bill. There are various money market funds. I know some of the market funds do about 23% on a daily basis, on per annum. It's accrued on a daily basis. So that 5,000, that 20,000, that 100,000 that you keep in perhaps maybe savings account. Wow, I'm not saying it's not good to keep that for emergency. You can also invest and have more funds, more money or more income. Commercial paper, we have interest rate is quite high in Nigeria now, and so it's good. This investment, money markets investment, actually trending high, and we can actually look at it. For capital market, that it's about a long-term investment. Equities, bond, preference shares, and exchange traded fund are some of the securities, that are under capital market. These will give you perhaps long-term investment opportunity. Real estate is also an investment option. Buy and hold. You can buy a property and hold it. You can buy land. It accumulates. It appreciates. Land appreciates. Rental. You can have rental income. You have REIT and you have joint ventures. I am mindful of the time, and so to close, I would like to play this video so that we just learn from it.
When I was a pastor, I was trained on Wall Street, and I spent 25 years as an investment advisor. One of the things that helped me make money for my clients was adhering to biblical principles of investing. So I just want to share a few of these with you. Principle number one, let time work for you. That means you have to start early. Don't wait until you're 40 or 50 years old to start investing, especially in the stock market. Ecclesiastes 11:1 says, cast your bread upon the water, which means to invest it, for you will find it after many days. Now that means after many days, you will get a return, not right away. So the important thing here is not timing the market, but time in the market. Principle number two, always diversify. In other words, never put all your eggs in one basket, because if you drop the basket, you'll destroy all your eggs. Ecclesiastes 11:2 says, divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead. Love that verse. It's basically saying you need to diversify with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, ETFs, and you want to make sure your investments cover different industries. So you're never overexposed to one area. Principle number three, don't wait on the perfect time to invest. There's no perfect time to start investing. Ecclesiastes 11:4 says, if you wait until the wind and the weather are just right, you'll never plant and you'll never harvest. Translation, if you keep waiting for the perfect time, you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on making money because no one can predict the market perfectly, not even the best people on Wall Street. So get started with a good investment like a growth stock mutual fund, and then just let it ride, let it grow. Principle number four, invest while you're also giving to God. Now, this is very important. You should invest wisely, whether it's in stocks, real estate, or your own business, but don't neglect God while you're investing. In Luke chapter 12, Jesus talks about the rich fool who was wealthy in his earthly investments, but he was poor in his heavenly investments. So don't be a fool. Make sure your investments include giving generously to the Lord's work. So these are just a few biblical principles of investing that I believe can make us financially and spiritually rich.
I hope that.
Did you know you can follow
Sorry.
biblical?
I hope that is helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much. So we'll call on Pastor Nokoya to please close for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Misa Midok, as I fondly call her, and Onome, who has stayed typically as she tends to in the background. I'm not sure how much I can summarize 2 fantastic or 2.5 very, very productive hours in 10 minutes. But I will try. They do say that time flies when you are having a good time. And I think right from when Prof opened the gate to Emmanuel, to Vida, to Nek, and Temitope rounding up, we have just had really a very, very richly resourced evening. And I have a few takeaways here. And it's interesting that as varied and diverse as the topics are, the same theme kept recurring. And I recollect that a few years ago, one of the giants in the oil industry discovered that the average lifespan of their retirees was between 3 and 4 years. A lot of them, when they retired, within 4 years, about a third of them were dead. And they were dying not for medical reasons. Well, a few did die for medical reasons, but a lot of them were dying because they did not take heed to many of the things that we had learned this evening. A lot of them were so carried away, living a sheltered life in posh oil and gas estates, that they forgot that those things were not their own. And when they retired, they simply had nowhere to go to and nothing to fall back on. And very quickly, they died. And I think what today has done is to really prepare us. And a few things that I would just like to remind us all of as takeaway from here is that I'm not aware of any bank or anywhere where you can save your money that will give you returns that is above the inflation rate. So what that means, and taking a cue from what Prof told us, if you save 1,000 Naira today, by the time December comes, if inflation rate remains at 30%, and that's about the average that most sources are telling us, that your 1,000 Naira that you have saved, what it will be able to do for you will be 700 Naira in today's money. So even though you have kept it aside, the value has dwindled. So meaning that, as a lot of the speakers have told us, what we should be looking at doing is investing rather than saving. Because I'm not aware of any instrument, any bank where you can save your money, that the returns will top the rate of inflation. So you are better off investing rather than saving. And one of the speakers did tell us that in addition to investing, we should also be creating value. And maybe to put value creation in very everyday terms for us, the average farmer that grows coffee in Kenya or in Ethiopia will, for the amount of coffee that goes into a cup, will probably earn something about 15 pence. But the time you buy that same cup of coffee in Starbucks, it is already £4.20. And the only thing that Starbucks has done is they have added value to it. And there is no endeavor in life where you find yourself that you cannot add value to. So one of the things we've been taught today is, what is it that you are doing and how can you add value to it? And I'm sure that if you look closely and if you look hard, you will discover that even for those who are doing the most mundane things, you can easily add value. I was following the chat box, and one of the participants has asked mentioned the whole issue of side hustle. Hustle is what the clever people who have spoken to us today will term multiple streams of income. How can you create other streams of income? In everyday terms, we say, what other side hustle can you do? So that if disruption happens to you, if Nigeria happens to you, and you'll be surprised how easy it is for Nigeria to happen to everybody. If that job disappears, if that industry is taken over by technology, what will you fall back on? And I think is how to be prepared for Nigeria. That is all that we have been told about today. I think what is expected of me is not another lecture. Certainly, I'm not qualified to give one, not in the presence of our panelists and our lecturers today. But just to say how very, very appreciative we are for all that you have taught us, all that you have deposited in us this evening. I know that if we were to pay for this, it probably will run into 5, if not 6 digits. But thank God that you have chosen to spend your time this way and to have deposited so much in us. I know that the pastor in charge of province, who is really, really not just the convener of this webinar, but also the visionary, is still here. So I'm going to yield ground to him. I'm sure he will want to have the last word and also to pronounce, make some declarations on not just those of us who have attended, but also on the resource persons also. And so I will be calling on the pastor in charge of province, Pastor Ephraim Osunde, for some final words for today. What I would like to ask before PICP comes on is to say that, and I think it was Vida that said that if he has the opportunity, she will want to share some life examples with us. So, Onome, Misa, and Donoma, we are waiting for Financial Wellbeing 2.0. But having said that, PICP, thank you very much for this, and over to you, sir, for your final comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nokoya. First comment is, I agree with you. So the team, Financial Wellness 2.0 loading. So let us discuss when that we hold. And we take it from some of the lessons here, and let's look at practical perspectives. Time is far gone. I just want to say thank you to everyone, to all the speakers. Thank you for sharing so richly from your experiences. Thank you for your vulnerability in sharing personal experiences. And thank you to the participants. When I looked at the attendance, I saw the numbers that came in, and really we know that it is those who value this that have come, and we know that you will certainly have benefited. I just want to ask that let it not just be another addition to our head knowledge. Make a determined effort to do something. I posted something there, even if it's just that you want to play in the money market field. Mutual funds, I'm not an expert, so don't take my advice. I'm just sharing something so you can ask the experts. But mutual funds on many of the organizations that offer it are doing a bit well, far beyond what savings accounts can give you. So why don't you put some of those 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, and just leave it there? And as Mr. Adeosun said, the interest accumulate on a daily basis. And before you know it, if you forget it for 6 months, you come back, you'll be asking yourself whether it's really your money. So to do a call to action for all of us here today as we go away is, what am I going to do with this knowledge? Let it not be another head knowledge, but let's practicalize it. So I just want to say, may the Lord bless you all and keep you all. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon us. May the Lord cause his peace to continue to rest with us. And may the Lord open the doors, the windows of heaven to pour upon us such blessings that we will not even have enough room. As we put this knowledge into practice, may the Lord cause us to find favor before Him and before men. And as we ask Him for the value that we have, that we can share, may the Lord put upon us inspirational ideas that we can trade for money. And I declare that all of us that have been present here today, and many more across the length and breadth of the province, that where we are financially, this year, this moment, will be the lowest that we will ever be. If the Lord tarries, by the end of this year, the Lord will take us to a higher level financially, that we may be a blessing, not just to ourselves, but to others around us. Go forth and be blessed. Go forth and prosper. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr.
Amen.
Over to
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I said when we started that it's a double dose. Indeed, it's a double dose. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Pastor and Pastor. Thank you, Professor Emmanuel. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel Akweme. Thank you, Mrs. Neka Jetro Iwobe. Thank you, Mrs. Temitope Adeosun. Thank you, Ms. Davida Echetabu. Please, I would humbly ask that everyone behind the scene, please just put on your camera and let's just say hi as we end. Thank you, everyone, for joining. See you. Financial Wellness 2.0. Please, can you put on your video? Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye all.
Bye. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, sir.
They don't let it go back. They don't